Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the President and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Look at that. To start today, what I wanted to do first was to thank and congratulate the members of our LGBTQIA plus and allies for hosting what sounds like it was an absolutely fabulous event last night. For those that are not aware, I know that we put out lots of invitations for this, both to staff and to residents and actually family members and the public. We had our first in a very long time intergenerational dinner. And we invited folks. We actually call it the mixed gen dinner, which was kind of a plan, a generation, gender, a lot of things. But it was intended to be a welcoming, inclusive event. We put on a nice spread, soup and salad, lots of visiting, and by all accounts, I've heard nothing but absolute rave reviews. We had a number of students from SUNY New Paltz that came, members of the public, many residents, including residents from the health center and their families. So it was very widely attended, and we had 67 people come, which was more than we originally anticipated. And I think that that is just such a it's such an endorsement of the inclusivity and welcoming nature that we try to instill here at Woodland Pond. And I just want to thank everyone that was involved. Going on to a couple of health center related items. Today at 1:30 p.m. in the Great Room, Dave Roberts, who is our capital projects manager, will be hosting an event to talk to all of the interested residents about the changes that are proposed for renovation for the health center. We have been talking a lot recently about the phase one projects, which are heavily focused on the community building. But in the second phase, we will be looking at making significant improvements to a lot of the common areas and amenities offered in the health center. For those that are interested, the emphasis placed with our design team and that Dave is really reinforcing is an emphasis on bringing natural light into the units, in particular skilled nursing and garden view memory care, where the original design did not allow for any natural light except in the resident rooms. Clearly, it's a deficiency of design, and now we have an opportunity to correct that, as well as a number of other things that are going to make these units and their common areas more welcoming, more useful for the residents, and just overall an improvement to our Woodland Pond offering. So that's today at 1:30 in the Great Room. Moving on to the next item related to the health center. You may have seen that we are posting right now and recruiting for a unit manager for the assisted living and garden view / memory care unit. The current unit manager is pursuing some additional endeavors. She's currently completing her RN schooling and has a few other things going on. So we will be recruiting and are currently recruiting for that position. The ideal candidate for that position is an LPN or an RN that has experience with geriatrics, especially in nurse management, charge nurse, staff education, staff supervision, those kinds of things. This person is really responsible for running assisted living and garden view and memory care. And if you know anyone that might be interested, we certainly welcome the referrals. Moving on to a couple of other things before I get into calendar items. We are also recruiting for a couple of positions that are a little bit more independent living centric. Again, related to lifestyle changes. By no means do we want to see any of these people leaving their positions, but retirements and other things happen. So we are posting for a wellness RN, registered nurse in independent living. This position is Monday through Friday, normal business hours, and the job description is essentially to provide advice, insight, some basic first aid, help residents to monitor and understand their health conditions, new diagnoses, find resources for residents, make sure that your medications are reconciled, that your emergency packets are updated, that we have all of the information that we need on hand from a medical perspective to make sure that if you can't speak for yourself, that this information will speak for you, and overall just to be here and be a resource for the residents. And the other position that we are recruiting for, again, related to a retirement that's pending later in 2025, is our activities coordinator. The ideal candidate for this position is someone that does have experience in recreation or a degree in recreational therapy or recreation. Certainly something related to seniors or retirees would be fantastic. We are looking for someone that's dynamic, a self-starter, and is excited to bring their ideas and join the Woodland Pond family. All of these positions and a few of the other routine, what we call evergreen positions, these are things that we kind of always keep posted because, for example, our wait staff, we have evergreen wait staff positions. That means they're always posted for recruitment because we've got college students that are coming and going. We want to make sure those pipelines are full. All of these positions can be found on our website under the Join Our Team tab, or you can just Google jobs at Woodland Pond, and either Indeed or Regional Help Wanted will direct you to our website to apply for those positions. We are currently completing the installation of the replacement pool heating and ventilation rooftop unit. This is a massive unit that some of you saw was replaced with a crane last Wednesday, I think it was. And the engineering part to connect everything is ongoing. Presently, we believe that the pool will be open by midday next Tuesday, so 1 week from today. I am hoping that on my address next week, I'm able to say pool is open. We are moving right along, and we are very excited that this will help temper the room in a way that is better than was before, and also control the humidity. So we're looking very much forward to that. Also along fitness and some things that you may have noticed, if you were to go into the fitness room today or yesterday, you would have seen that the mirrors on the walls have been removed. That is temporary. They will be up within a week or so. They were removed because as part of our ongoing due diligence related to the expansion of fitness and wellness, we needed to do some investigating about where some piping and other things were coming into and going out of the building to make sure that what we have in the existing conditions conforms with the design documents that we have. This is all, again, related to engineering, and the access to where those pipes are is located behind those mirrors. So we were able to take them down intact, and we will be putting them back up within about a week or so. Before I get into some of the calendar items, I just want to wrap up with a couple of March kind of things. Then I want to go through comments from the suggestion box and rumor mill. We are currently celebrating Women's History Month, and presently we've got a beautiful display of women and their accomplishments, a focus on educators. There are actually 80 women here that currently are or were educators. That's a combination of residents, well, primarily residents, and some staff. If you would like some additional information, there's a bio form at Concierge, but please do enjoy that display. There's a lot of great and interesting information there. And Phil has asked us to remind everyone that this Thursday, the 6th, we will be moving into the modified seating system for the main dining room. We will be moving from what is currently a 3 seating option each evening to every 15-minute increments beginning at 4:45, with the last seating being sat at 6:30. This is much more similar to what we were able to do before COVID. We are limited at each seating, and that is because we need to make sure that the kitchen is not overwhelmed and that your service is primo. Please bear with us. We believe, based on the experience of those that are in charge of both our culinary staff and our dining rooms, that this is going to be successful, but I'm sure there will be some kinks. So please be patient and understanding, and certainly provide your feedback with Happy or Not Machine. Send an email to anybody on the dining team or to myself, or drop a note. Okay, getting into some of the comments that we've gotten, or actually all of the comments. I like to read them all that we've gotten since the last update, the last address. So we've got a comment, and I like to read these just as they are, because I think it's important, unless there is any kind of hate speech or inflammatory language. So in this case, this resident has asked, is anyone assessing the independent living residents who have trouble making it down the hallway and often seem confused? Shouldn't they be in skilled? Will new residents come to IL Woodland Pond with the IL lobby full of people in wheelchairs and walkers? I would like to invite this person to perhaps join the welcome committee or attend the welcome committee. Woodland Pond is required under both fair housing law and the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, to welcome any resident into independent living that meets the independent living criteria. And the process for reviewing and accepting new residents is very comprehensive. It's much more comprehensive than it ever was in the past. And we invited the welcome committee based on some concerns that they had raised, I don't know, about 6 months ago, a similar concern, to review and provide recommendations to our team about the evaluation process. Did they think that there was anything, that there was something missing in the process, or something we could be doing better? And for those that are not aware, within the last year, the process has expanded significantly to include not only the typical history and physical that we have done with your physicians and the in-person interviews that we do, but as well, we are now requiring physician office visits notes, consultants notes. So if you have any kind of a consulting physician, a neurologist, an orthopedist, et cetera, they're required to be provided. And we do follow up with questions with those providers if we have any. We do blood work. And we also do an evaluation by our PT and OT, physical therapy and occupational therapy team, in any instance where we have any concerns about someone's ability to meet our independent living criteria. We are unable and unwilling to deny anyone residency if they can objectively meet the criteria that we have set out, and we certainly cannot do anything that would violate fair housing laws or the Americans with Disabilities Act. That being said, everyone ages, and people age at different rates, and of course, we would love it if everyone that came into independent living could stay here for 12 years, like the actuaries think that you should, but we know that's not realistic. So what I would encourage is, anytime anyone has a concern about a neighbor in any level of care, what you need to do is you need to escalate that to us confidentially. We really need to know specifically who you're talking about and what you're observing. Our team does this discussion continually every single week. Our team collects feedback from concierge and the drivers and Jeannie and Dedricks and Sharon and the dining room. We observe things and we really actively discuss any of the residents that we have concerns about. You all know we have a sacrosanct meeting every single Tuesday. You will see us in the classroom. It starts at 1 p.m. And if you stuck your head in or looked through the window, you would see that you've got the entire interdisciplinary team from the health center and as well independent living. And all we are doing in that meeting is talking about which residents really need to move to a higher level of care. And a lot of that is based on your feedback. So if you have those observations, please do make sure that you're sharing them with us so that we can properly support your neighbors. The next, I'm going to paraphrase because I think that there is some language in here that is presumptive and not not pertinent to the discussion, but essentially what it's asking is very similar to questions that have been asked over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And it basically says, with sort of the very divided politics that are going on right now, regardless of which party you're aligning with, or if you're an independent like me, there's a lot going on, without a doubt. It's full press on ahead, and it's a lot of things we haven't seen before. So this person certainly takes exception to current leadership, and that's certainly that person's prerogative. I will once again encourage folks, based on my concern about this person's effects possibly on the news, on their mental health and well-being, that if you are finding that the news cycle is affecting you negatively, that you avoid it unless you really want to, I guess, keep up what's going on. But it's really important to find middle of the road or offsetting news sources. It's important for your mental health. You completely control what you consume. And we will keep you abreast of the things that impact Woodland Pond. We are extremely transparent. This person seems to think that we're going to be experiencing some significant storms ahead, and that's completely to be seen. But what I would just encourage you is Woodland Pond has weathered storms before. This person is specifically asking about whether or not our money is safe. Woodland Pond's money is safe. And it's interesting because many of you don't realize this. It makes perfect sense in retrospect, but in sort of the spirit of talking about weathering storms, and particularly financial uncertainty in storms, in 2020, Woodland Pond brought in over $6 million less than we normally do. And for us, that's significant. Our normal cash flow in a normal year is around $30 million. That's been standard for 14 out of 15 years. And in 2020, it dropped by $6 million. That was completely attached to COVID and the interruptions that happened. My guess is that residents never felt a financial impact, certainly not a 20% financial impact in any way. We are suited to weather storms. We expect uncertainty. We have faced it for 15 years. And I want you to feel like you can breathe a little bit easier, because some of the things that affect the macroeconomic environment don't necessarily trickle down to Woodland Pond in a way that it might if you were not here. But again, everyone is encouraged to consume the news and consume social media and conversations only to the extent that you feel that it's good for your mental health. There are great resources. You can reach out. We've got the Mental Health and Wellness Group just issued a list of resources that we have. And you may not have thought about this, but certainly counseling or someone to talk to can be about things like, having some anxiety about anything, particularly politics or your family or whatever. It's not just limited to, the traditional things. So anything that you can do to help your mental health and well-being, we can help with you. And if you're feeling like that, you can speak to any of the social services team members in the health center or Sarah Leonard in Independent Living. And either we can directly help you with that, or we can get you resources to do so. This next one is, I don't think that it is fair for the council VP, vice president, to also serve on the board, and for the council's interfaith committee / dining committee vice chair to also serve on the board. Once they are on the board, they should resign from their positions at Woodland Pond. Other residents ran for the board and for the council and didn't get on them. And monopoly is never good for any organization. This, again, we welcome all opinions. This is something that I would encourage the person that wrote this to bring concerns to the Residents Council, because presently in the Resident Council bylaws and the Woodland Pond bylaws, there is no prohibition about or any requirement for any board member to step down from any of their existing council memberships or committees. if that is something that the residents feel should be considered. The absolute way to approach this is to bring this up to the Residents' Council. The Residents' Council has a mechanism by which the bylaws of the resident association can be changed. And certainly this is something that I would suggest, if you feel strongly about it, bringing to the table. I would also believe that this person probably wrote this. I was out of the office for a few days before the Woodland Life article came out this month in the March newsletter, where Dick Barry did an excellent job explaining the extensive process that the board went through to vet the 9 candidates that we had for the board, and ultimately how they came to their conclusions. Very important for you to understand that both Dick and Ray Smith are on our governance committee of the board, and that is the specific committee that was tasked with presenting nominees to the board for consideration. And they certainly can speak to the process. Obviously, we're not going to talk about specifics with specific residents, why yes or why no, but there were different reasons that arrived for everyone. We only had 2 positions, but again, specific to this issue, if you do have concerns about those kinds of things, I would raise it to the Residents' Council. And this is a great opportunity for me to make the routine periodic plug that any resident is encouraged to participate in any committee at Woodland Pond. We do tend to see a lot of people are repeat participants, and that's great. But when we look at it as a percentage of total residents, there are a lot of residents that are choosing not to participate. And as each of these committees and as the Resident Council needs membership and nominees and people to chair committees and vice chair, we can only put the opportunities out there. If others do not choose to participate, that is 100% your choice, but we always encourage people to consider expanding your horizons in that way. The next, there's actually 2. They came back to back. I think that they're probably from the same person, although there is different font used on the anonymous receipt. So maybe trying to be a little tricky, but it's the same message. And it basically says, because they both say the same thing, but with different comma delimits, I recommend doing an online survey of resident satisfaction with services at Woodland Pond, and goes on to include dining, maintenance, housekeeping, communications, concierge, nursing, trips, athletics, landscaping, management, marketing, snow removal, and including a space for comments. We do surveys about once every 45 to 60 days. And we do these based on topics of interest that we're looking at making changes to particular programs. It's a little bit difficult, and there's really not a lot of value in doing broad scale surveys like this because we don't actually get the details that we need. So our tendency has been to do topic specific surveys. So we'll do a deep dive on dining, or we'll do a deep dive on activities or communication. We just did one on communication at the request of the Residents' Council within the last month. And I think what might be missing here is sort of some of these outcomes. One thing that all of you will know if you have been at Woodland Pond for more than a year is that when we do these surveys, basically every time things split 50-50 down the middle. So we might ask a question about, do you like our trips? 50% are going to say yes, and 50% are going to say no. There is very much equal and offsetting opinion here at Woodland Pond. So oftentimes there isn't a slam dunk. With the exception, the communication survey was pretty clear as to how many of the residents, at least those that responded, prefer to consume their information. And I look forward to seeing how the Resident Council makes some suggestions as to how we can capitalize on that. The last is related to the aesthetic of our entrances, particularly the side entrances, and consideration of the fact that many of these side entrances are public space. I am not going to go into details because I do not want to inadvertently identify any resident that might be questioned by this person. But the gist here is We all have a responsibility here at Woodland Pond, even within our personal residences, to keep things being well maintained, tidy, and attractive. And obviously, that's in the eye of the beholder. But this person is asking their neighbors to be mindful, more mindful of items that they have outside of their ground level apartments or cottages, things that might be on the balconies that might be visible to the public in the courtyard, and so forth. And I think it's a great recommendation. We always want to put our best foot forward. And if you have concerns about where to store things and those kinds of things, we can always help you with that. So just being mindful of the fact that we're always here and making sure that we have some attractive curb appeal. One last thing on entrances, and this is not in a comment, and then I'll move into a few calendar items. We have recently undertaken a review of the over 1,400 active badges that we have on campus. Each of those has different levels of access. Some of them are duplicative and so forth, but what we are finding is that there are a few resident family members or private duty companions that have slipped through the cracks or have previously been approved for side door access with a badge, and that is going to be revoked. That's an oversight on our part. We take full responsibility for that. There is a significant security component to making sure that our side doors, which are badge access accessible only, are only accessible by residents and staff. We must be able to control that activity. And it is a requirement under the regulations that all visitors to the health center sign in and sign out. And it is a requirement of our resident handbook, and long has been, that every single guest of independent living, whether you're visiting a resident on a ground floor that you could go right into their apartment, or you're visiting somebody in a cottage, everyone is required to sign in and sign out with concierge. Yes, it's inconvenient, but at the end of the day, it is a safety issue. We have to know who is on this campus. God forbid something goes wrong. God forbid there's an emergency. We need to know who is here. So I completely understand and empathize with the fact that it's a pain, but it's the requirement. It's in the handbook. It's for safety reasons, and it is to be held and taken seriously. All right, a couple of calendar items. The Piglets, which are the participation in government students from New Paltz High School, are back. These students are the version of each year. Students come back and do some participation with our residents every year. It's a great program. We love seeing the younger people around, certainly. There's all kinds of events that are going to be happening. There's a Texas Hold'em poker tournament happening on Thursday in the game room. There's a live music and chat on Monday at 11:45 in the PAC. There's a letter writing opportunity next Monday at 11:30 in the classroom. All of these things will be on your calendars. Next week, there's going to be, let's see, it says Wednesday. I'm not sure which Wednesday. There's going to be a beach bash, and then a helping host and educators tea in the great room. So there's lots going on. Hopefully you'll all get some interaction with the students. Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday. I guess that makes today Fat Tuesday. We have two opportunities for receiving ashes or any blessings that you wish to have. 11:15 in the game room with Tyler Jones, our resident reverend, and at 2 p.m. in the great room with Father Sal. He is from St. Joseph's Catholic Church in New Paltz. So again, 11:15 tomorrow in the game room, or 2 p.m. in the great room if you'd like to get ashes or a blessing. On Friday, we have two events of note that are happening. We have a 1 p.m. Brain health invitee, an invited speaker named Joan Carl from the Alzheimer's Association, and she is going to be here to speak on dementia-related behaviors. This has been a great series, and I want to thank the Brain Health team for bringing all of our partners from the Alzheimer's Association to Woodland Pond. There is so much to learn, and I encourage everyone to attend that. And then also on Friday at 2 p.m., our resident Mel Ocean will be talking about climate change. And this was well described in the Woodland Life newsletter, and it seems like it's going to be somewhat of an introspective. reflecting on, some of the climate science that is advertised and publicized, questioning our role, and a number of other things. And I think Mel will lead a great conversation on that and provide some perspective. The last thing I just wanted to mention is please mark your calendars next Thursday at 1 p.m., which is the 13th. I will be doing a second project financial update. So we have been giving updates about the progress of the projects right along. We do those every single Friday. Dave Roberts does them in his weekly address and then at every management Q&A. But we have committed to quarterly doing a full resident association presentation on where we are with the finances. And that is going to be on Thursday at 1 p.m. Last but not least on that topic, I would like to thank those residents that braved coming to the Finance Review Committee meeting yesterday. We had a full room, which was fantastic. We went through a lot of details. And again, all of these meetings, dining committee, physical plant, these are things that you're definitely interested in, and we strongly encourage residents to participate. Let's make 2025 the year that we take the bull by the horns and do this. Enjoy your day.